All right, welcome into 305 guys on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. We're sponsored here by Prize Picks, the one thing that you still can do while watching a Dolphin game. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Delete the other code if you see one there. Put down 5, F-I-V-E. Play $5, and they'll give you $50 in free lineups. Not real complicated. So check it out. It's prizepicks.com. Again, use the code FIVE. We've got the NBA starting here. The NHL is already going. MLB playoffs. And, of course, the NFL. It's all there on Prize Picks, and it is legal in the state of Florida. So check it out. It's prizepicks.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store. All right, let's get to this, Alex, and I got Alex Donno with me. I was in the room when Tua made his comments, and let me just give you some of the context here. It was kind of a normal presser for him. And then he was asked about basically about the guys not getting down on themselves or something along those lines, or not throwing in the towel at the very end. It was supposedly going to be the last question. And he went the direction of talking about guys not showing up at meetings. So just to be clear on this, the media didn't push him to say anything. This is something he wanted to say. And then the context of it also is Mike McDaniel spoke after. And when Mike McDaniel spoke after, he hadn't heard Tua's comments. And so when he was asked about it, he kind of gave an incomplete answer and then followed up the next day.
Yes.
And then we saw various former players, including Terran Armstead, whose opinion I respect because he was actually in that locker room, and then other players who just are talking.
Channing Crowder weighed in on it as well.
Channing, whose opinion obviously I respect. But like there were some guys from outside of the market, okay, who don't really know what's going on, who I thought sort of crossed the line themselves. But they all had an issue with him sort of airing dirty laundry. And I want to be clear on one thing, and then I'll go to you on this. That part I get, okay? I understand that. Players don't like when stuff that's happening behind the scenes is aired out, even if Tua didn't name anybody specifically. But the one thing I do want to be clear on is Tua did indict himself, okay? He did say leadership, he's part of it. And these are player-only meetings. Now, I know that some in Channing had said, well, why are you having all these player-only meetings? That means the coaching staff is not doing their job if you could have more of these meetings. And I get that too. But I just want to be clear as people pile on Tua here, and I'm not saying that he should have aired this, but he was not like excusing himself. I think that's been lost a little bit as people are talking about him not taking responsibility. I do think he took responsibility. I just think he thinks others should take responsibility also, and he doesn't feel like that's happening. And so now it's being perceived as a rift between him and McDaniel, and maybe it is, but I don't think that's what Tua was getting at there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, with the way former players are reacting to it, and like you mentioned, maybe you weigh Terran Armstead's opinion more heavily because he played with Tua. He played in essentially this locker room. Obviously, Channing Crowder, who used to play with the Dolphins, was never in a locker room with Tua, but I would still trust like Channing's opinion over some of these other people nationally who are weighing in. The context is important, and that was something I wasn't in the room for Tua's answer. You were. I was filled in by others later about the context that it wasn't as if he was absolving himself from blame. Because when people started passing around the clips on social media, it definitely seemed like, hey, you're the starting franchise quarterback and you're blaming the leadership. Aren't you the leadership? But like you said, the context, he did include himself there, which is fine. But still, I still thought he broke a code when you start basically accusing publicly, some of your teammates, being either lazy or irresponsible or just not caring enough to go to all these players only meetings. So I still think that some of the reaction is justified. I have noticed over the last couple of years, I don't know if Rich Eisen loving salty Tua so much has made Tua feel like he should be salty more often and speak his mind more often, because sometimes he just seems to lack the filter of like when to say something and when not to say something. Like I don't know, emotional intelligence is kind of the term that I'm looking at.
But he
there.
used to have that, Alex. Like that's the thing. Like
he used to have too much of it, but then it's like the dam broke, and now the guy can't keep his opinions to himself. And then with the whole McDaniel thing, and McDaniel's reaction the following day when he I'm sure heard the comments and he had the context. it seemed as though he really doesn't appreciate the fact that they feel the need to have all these extra players only meetings, beyond what he and his coaches are doing, because it makes him look like a jackass, right? And maybe it's deserved. Like, I'm not defending Mike McDaniel here, but he seemed to be kind of pissed about what Tua said, because it's like, and Crowder laid it out well. These guys, from like 6 a.m. to like 7, 8 p.m. have official meeting, practice sessions, meeting after meeting after meeting, and then they're doing all these extra film sessions. It makes the coaching staff look awful. So McDaniel didn't seem happy about the fact that that's getting aired in public as well. And it does, maybe you think rift is too strong of a word, but there's definitely been a separation this year from Mike McDaniel and Tua that is so unfamiliar, because the first couple of years they spent together, they were each other's guy. Like, McDaniel came in here, it essentially looked like he was going to save Tua's career, right? That Brian was the evil guy who was trying to sabotage Tua, and then McDaniel was trying to bring out the best in him. And now it seems as though they're distancing themselves from each other for self-preservation, especially on the McDaniel side. And I don't know for sure where these alleged leaks are coming from, with everyone talking about Tua, being this and that. But I don't know. It seems like it may be coming from people close to McDaniel, if not McDaniel himself. I'm just reading between the lines there. I don't know that for a fact, but it definitely does not seem like they are one happy family, those two, anymore.
No, it doesn't. And a lot of features were done on national networks about the beauty of their relationship and how McDaniel saved Tua's career. You work together long enough, though, and you don't have great success, things start to fray a little bit, and that's probably what's happened here. But it's a combination of factors. I mean, plus Tua probably believes that McDaniel's been leaking to reporters, because a lot of the stuff has been lately about how McDaniel can't open up his whole offense because Tua can't extend the field. So you start to hear enough of that. That gets annoying. And then on the other side, if you're
No.
McDaniel, you could definitely be annoyed by the players' meetings and the fact that they're getting out. That doesn't look good in front of your boss. No. So it's all bad. And really, it was bad from moment one. Like, this is not a season that like suddenly went south. Like, it went south from the first quarter against the Colts. And ever since then, and I said this on a variety of shows that we've done together, this season could either be like between 9 and 11 wins, or if they get off to a slow start, it's going to be a disaster. And we got the disaster. And they're not going to climb out of it. It just becomes a question now of whether or not, Ross decides to hold on until the end of the year and reset. If he has the energy for a coaching search, or we know he doesn't have the energy for a GM search at this stage, or what else might be going on behind the scenes. And the other thing is, like, just patching it with a big name is not going to do it this time. Like, nobody, like, don't go get Bill Belichick, for instance. Like, so,
oh my God, yeah, keep him as far away as you possibly can.
And Shula, I mean, you can't bring him into an organization that
I had somebody on Twitter the other day said to me, bring in the former Steelers coach. And I'm like, I don't think Mike Tomlin is going to leave. And he's like, no, Bill Cowher. I'm like, what?
Oh, God, yeah. Well, that's
you remember when we wanted Bill Cowher like 20 years ago here?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, go after Harbaugh again, right? Although I think he's not going to be available. Maybe we go after the other Harbaugh if the Ravens don't solve their problems.
Right.
They are look, it's a combination of things, and it just needs to be completely blown up. And that's where you're at. And Mike may have success somewhere else. He's probably going to have to work his way back in as a coordinator or position coach with some play calling responsibilities. The question is whether Tua gets another opportunity as a starter. There's obviously a financial commitment to him here. I don't know how many teams are going to take him on, considering that he requires a certain system for it to work. And I don't know, you're bringing him in as the second. It's always fascinated me, though, the national media is so fascinated by him, because they did seem like, and it has seemed all along, like they've been waiting to pile on him. And I think, as you talk about him becoming more salty Tua over time, I think that all that stuff has gotten to him at a certain point, and now he just doesn't really care what he says. Right. And the problem is when you lead with strength, if you're winning, it sounds good.
Right,
But
exactly.
if you're losing, it just sounds like you're complaining about everybody else. And
Yeah, like I was listening. I think it was Dan Pat, and like I was telling you off the air, I went down this rabbit hole late night last night when I was watching like everybody reacting to this McDaniel thing, and I think it was Dan Patrick who made the point that if you're winning, people don't criticize the things you say. Like look at Baker Mayfield.
right.
Before Baker Mayfield was winning, people thought he was a loose cannon, kind of annoying. Now everything he says is brilliant, right? And listen, and on Tua, I'm not sure if he is capable of winning at that level. I certainly don't think the Dolphins under Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel are capable of winning at that level, no matter what you think of Tua. But I mean, he's right that when you say things like that, it sounds great when you're a winning quarterback, not so much when you are where Tua is right now at 1-5.
I just wonder what this would have looked like under the context of two different things. One, let's say that Jalen Phillips brings down the quarterback, Justin Herbert, in that situation, or Dante Trader takes a reasonable angle, and the Dolphins win that game, and Tua has a game-winning drive. None of this comes up.
Nope.
None of it. And also, if Tua just leaves that press conference with a politically correct answer at the end without interjecting that. Like, I don't think we'd have any of this. I don't really think Tua was going to be scapegoated for that game because except for those who didn't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, he did right, exactly. Because if you didn't watch it, you saw, hey, he threw 3 interceptions. That's
okay, and the first one was literally Jalen Waddle handed it to the defender. Okay, now Tua missed some open receivers, and there were a couple of near picks. That's fair to criticize. The only pick that was legit was the second pick. The third pick, I mean, you're trying to get something going there in the last play of the game. You're not going to win. That had no impact on anything at the end of that game. Okay, so they were not coming back in that situation. No. He did what he had to do, as he did in the Carolina game, which is he put them ahead, and the defense couldn't hold it. That would have probably been the storyline if he doesn't say anything at the end, and instead he does, because there's so much else that's wrong with this team. And it's always kind of flashing back to him. Well, he can't elevate it. Well, yeah, I don't think anybody could elevate this team right now. They're literally starting the two worst guards in the NFL.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah, it's awful.
Right? Their first-round pick, the defensive tackle, has been one of the worst at his position this year.
Right.
Jalen Phillips.
We've had some of those over the years under Chris Greer. Thank you.
Yeah, Kenneth exactly. Grant. And the pass rush can't get home. Okay? So you have all of those factors. You have linebackers who make plays 8 yards down the field. They've had no receivers step up other than Waddle and a little bit of Waller since Hill got hurt. The rest of the receivers, you can throw them all out. Like Washington's not making plays. Nobody's making plays. The rest of the tight ends don't make plays. The second running, I mean, they have Jalen Wright. That didn't work out. Ollie Gordon hasn't produced at all. We thought he might. It's basically their entire offense is Devon Achane. That's it, okay? And he's tiny. So, like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is not a talented team. This is a team that was put together incorrectly by the guy in charge. They literally just cut their recent second-round pick, Cam Smith. Nobody even blinks because this happens all the time.
We're so used to it now.
So, I mean, Alex, what is your prescription here? You just let this play out until the end of the year, and you let McDaniel and Tua kind of sneer at each other, and you see if you can win a couple games? Is that the point, or you shut Tua down at some point?
I mean, I think at a certain point, and I'll address the McDaniel side of it and the Tua side of it. To me, it's like I know people would say, hey, you might as well wait till the end of the season to make a coaching change because what's the difference? I also at some point somebody's got to be held accountable for this. Now, the problem is, to me, I think the GM is even more accountable for this mess, or should be more accountable for this than the head coach. I don't want to see either of them back next year. Let me be clear, because I want a new GM who is then going to lead a coaching search to bring in his own head coach, because I don't want to be doing half measures the way we've often done over the years. So I would like neither the GM nor the head coach to see the end of the season, because I think they need to be sent a message for what's happening, especially if this team keeps losing. I mean, if they're able to, win a handful of games, that'll probably convince Stephen Ross to wait till the end of the year. But if you keep losing, I think management needs to be held accountable for this. In terms of Tua, I mean, Ethan, you get to a certain point, once you're, mathematically eliminated from the playoffs and you have nothing to play for, you've got a starting quarterback who has had injury issues throughout the years and concussion issues throughout the years. I mean, at a certain point, And I'm not necessarily saying you can turn the page on the Tua era, because basically with the way his contract is structured, financially, you're kind of stuck with him at least through next year, is my understanding of it. So, but at a certain point, though, when you've got, starting quarterback injury liability and you have nothing to play for, maybe you do see, what else you have. I mean, obviously a lot of Dolphin fans would prefer for Quinn Ewers to get opportunities than Zach Wilson, but at some point you see what else you have on the roster. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. Like, if you keep losing, I just don't see how Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier make it till the end of the year.
I mean, I think there's a way. I think Ross might just decide, okay, let's do this in the offseason. He seems to be leaning reportedly more on his son-in-law lately. Obviously, he's going to be turning the team over to his daughter at some point. I just think that, you look at the circumstances, the bye isn't coming up for a long time. They're in Cleveland this week. That's not a good team, but they've already lost to a couple of bad teams, including Carolina. I think that this probably waits a little bit longer. I think the one thing that's saving McDaniel might be that they're on the road the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to get
another question I would have for you is, sorry to cut you off, but if they were to fire McDaniel, who's the interim coach?
I think it's probably, my guess is probably Bevel, only because the offense is actually, that's the other part of this.
You can't give it to Weaver at this point. You can't.
No, I mean, the defense has been worse than the offense. It's like, as mentioned, as many holes as they have on offense, like the defense has literally been the unit that has pissed away the last 2 games. Like, they scored enough points to win each of the last 2 games. Tua left the game with the lead, and the defense in one game couldn't stop anybody on the run. Couldn't stop, and then a practice squad running back torched him for over 100 this past week. They're one of the worst defenses they've had in 20 years. And so I don't know how you could promote Anthony Weaver and just say, well, he didn't have his players. Like, you can't send that message. Darren Bevel, I think, probably makes the most sense for now, because I don't think he's going to be the long-term guy anyway. And at least there, you don't really know what he does. So it's sort of like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a behind-the-scenes guy, whereas Weaver is out front on the defense. So it's like with Bevel, you can kind of put him out there, say, okay, he's going to steer the ship here for a little while. This team's going to be irrelevant for the rest of the season. We're going to evaluate some of our young players. And then, you pivot towards the draft, and then you see where you go. And maybe Tua starts to light it up with him, and you start to feel a little bit better about him as an option for you at quarterback next year. But I just think that right now you can't promote Weaver. If they promote Weaver, that's going to look ridiculous. And I don't know that you should rush the search right now when a lot of coaches are not available to even be interviewed. To me, that would be a bit of a mistake. So I know the fans want instant action, but this season's gone. This season was gone at halftime against the Colts. It was gone. Yeah. It was gone. Like, that effort that they put out there in that first game, that told you everything. And it has not gotten any better. They've won 1 game because the Jets fumbled 3 times. And that's pretty, and they're 0-6. Okay. So this is one of the worst teams in Dolphin history now. And the fact that and look, Tyreek, obviously that chapter's over with. Waller's not going to be here next year. No. They're going to have to change the whole pass rush again. This vaunted pass rush with Chop and the one they brought in, and obviously Phillips and Chubb. And I mean, they literally can't get a sack. Like Weaver's had to dial up pressure from all over the place. Their best defensive player so far might be Rasul Douglas, who they picked up a week before camp. Like, this is, it's bad. Do you think they win this week?
I mean, they should, right, against Cleveland.
I mean, we say they should, but like, that's
we say they should every week, right? I mean, I had my doubts about the Chargers game. I was like sure they would beat Carolina the week prior.
Yeah,
I had my doubts about the Chargers game, and my doubts were confirmed. I mean, listen, if you don't beat Cleveland, like, has Stephen Ross seen enough, or you got to make a change? Because how embarrassing would that be? You can't do much worse than that.
Like I said, you got 2 road games in a row, right? And I kind of feel like that saves McDaniel for now, but Ross might want to make a change before that that home game. Is that against the Ravens? That's a Thursday night game against the Ravens.
Yeah, I think so. And the Ravens are obviously they're reeling right now. They'll still find a way to beat the Dolphins. But and then like
Derrick Henry will still rush for 400 yards. Yes.
Oh, for sure. I that's right. Yeah, I saw something recently, and I don't know if it was from like an actual NFL reporter, but I don't know if this was just kind of his opinion when he threw this name out there. But he mentioned something about how like the Dolphins would like a Dan Campbell type to be their next head coach. And I read that and I'm like, oh, was that you that told me that?
No. But I told you that would happen. They always go there.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. But what I found so funny about it was like Dan Campbell literally wanted the job after he was interim coach. Like they could have literally had Dan Campbell. And now 10 years later, man, we really need to find a guy like Dan Campbell. You literally had Dan Campbell and you didn't give him the job.
Well, they also had Mike Tomlin, but that's
right. Yeah, he wanted the job as well. You can't blame this particular ownership for that one. That was the previous ownership where we can blame this ownership for literally having Dan Campbell and not giving him the job.
Yes. There's a lot of coaches who were on the staff with Saban who've had success in other places. Kirby Smart, a whole bunch of guys who were just they were like the other guys in that coaching. So take a look at that Saban staff sometime and see what those guys became. All right, we appreciate everybody joining us. Check out the other content. 3 Yards per Carry and Scouting the Finns both did episodes on this similar topic. So if you want to get other opinions, also check out Messi and Company and the Canes show, 6 Ring Canes last night. Of course, you can check out Donno's work on Locked On Canes as well. Not here, but other places. Anyway, Prize Picks. Use the code 5, FIVE. Have a good day, everybody.
See ya.